Welcome back to our second presentation on credit, consumer credit. And in this presentation, we'll discuss how this industry works, what's behind the curtains, and then talk about sometimes when things don't go well and the remedies that are set in place to help those of us who fall by the wayside. Slide 35, your credit report. Now, why do you think these people who have no idea who you are, don't know you from anyone else in this world, are willing to extend credit to you? Well, there are three what are called super bureaus or credit bureaus or super agencies. They go by various names, but they collect information about you. Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Where do they get it? Well, the lenders give it to them. The banks, the credit unions, and the appliance stores and the like. Now, not all of them, but most all of them feed literally billions and billions and billions of transactions every month to these super bureaus. And they build a demographic profile on you. They try to learn as much about you as possible, which means they mess up a lot. If you've been in the system for some time and have never gotten your free credit report, you really need to, because the first time you get it, you'll be surprised about how many ways they mess up your phone number or your address or who you work for. First time I looked at it was about a few years into the my dance with the benevolent machine, and I was surprised at how many ways they could spell Southwestern Community College incorrectly. Also, they had me paying I was making very good payments on a condo mortgage in Miami. Turns out there's another Frank Piano in this world. Oh my goodness. And he's a third degree black belt. I never met the guy. But he was making payments on a condominium in Miami Beach, Florida. I called my credit union, who said, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. And sure enough, they took it off. So after a few months, you will start, a few months, folks, of making payments, you will start to get these solicitations in the mail. Why? Because Experian, TransUnion, Equifax sells your information to the banks, the credit unions, and the like, as they go and look for new hosts. These are parasites, and they have to find new hosts. So you can tell them to get you off their mailing list. That's the phone number. You can go online too and do it. And sure enough, it works. I didn't think it was going to work because I was getting 3 or 4 of these in the mail every week. And so I called up and they took my name off. And within 4 weeks, I was not getting any solicitations. They started coming to my wife. And so we called and took her name off, and sure enough, they stopped coming. And then my son was in the 3rd grade. This was a long time ago. And he got one. And I thought, oh, this is good. This is too good. Somebody screwed up somewhere. So I filled it out and said that he made a tidy little sum. He keeps his room immaculate, unlike most children. And said, Joseph, would you sign this? Because I didn't lie. I told him what his age was. And he said, we don't know how to do cursive yet. I said, just write your name. Just print your name however you do. And I thought, if they give an 8-year-old a credit card, I'm going to the newspapers. I'm going to the radio stations and the television stations. Sure enough, they sent back a form letter saying, thank you very much, but because of, and they have a whole list of reasons why they can't give you credit. One of them was being underage. Can a person under the age of 18 have a credit card? Well, the answer is yes. But when you sign that slip, when you swipe that card, you're entering into a contract. And under 18, contracts cannot be enforced. So sure, they could give you a credit card, but you don't have to pay it, and they can't come after you. So if you want I'm assuming that many of you are just starting out. Then if you want to be part of the major world, the world at large, you really need to get your information out there into these 3 super bureaus. And the way to do that is, in the previous presentation, opening up a secured credit card and then making the payments on time so that the 3 credit bureaus know who you are, and then you'll start getting solicitations like crazy. And so then you want to take your name off. Every year you can get a free credit report from each of the 3 major super bureaus. Now, there are dozens of websites trying to sign you up for free credit reports, but really they're not free. They're 1 month free, and then they want you to ding you for $10, $20, $30. We'll see those in a few minutes. But the only one that is truly free and is really from the Experian, TransUnion, Equifax is annualcreditreport.com. And even that's going to try to sell you. While you're going through this process, whether you call them up or go online, they're going to try to sign you up for these credit services that are, we'll discuss those in a bit. So be careful. But do get your free credit report once a year. Slide number 36. The company Fair Isaac Corporation, most people just refer to it as FICO, then takes that information from Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax and turns it into a score. Now, it used to be that there was magic involved and smells and bells and incense and sacrificing of young goats, but not anymore. Now you're allowed to know how this number is created. And we'll take a look at that on a future slide. They range from the upper 300s to the mid 800s. It's supposed to be 850. Generally, anything over 700 is excellent, and the computer will automatically approve you. But at around 600, your credit application is supposed to be manually reviewed, but that doesn't always happen. More about this later. Once you're in the 500s, you're considered a high risk, and most lenders don't want to touch you unless they're going to charge you a tremendous amount of interest. You become subprime. You become a high risk individual. And there are a few other entities out there that will give you a credit score that is similar to FICO's. They use the same numbering. Some are a little higher, some are a little lower, but the idea is to mimic FICO, and then they'll even give them to you for free. But it's not the one that the lenders use. The lenders, in general, by far, use FICO, Fair Isaac Corporation's numbering system. Why? I don't know. It was the first one out there, and it's the biggest one, and that's the one they use. Slide number 37. This is how the FICO score is created. And it used to be that this was a trade secret, and it was you couldn't know this information, and it's not really intelligent, isn't it? If you're going to grade somebody, it's important for them to know how they're going to be graded. If I said to you, "Yeah, I'm going to give you a grade, but I just want you to turn in things. I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to grade you." Yeah. And so they would leak this out to the press, and it would be in these various magazines and on websites, and shh, don't tell anybody because it's a trade secret. Well, it can be told, dear students, that the largest component of your credit score is, do you make your payments on time? Your past payment history. Yeah, duh. That's why we say get a secured credit card, make the payments every month automatically, $30-$40, don't go overboard, and then boom, your score is going to jump very quickly into the high 600s within 6 months to a year or so, 700. Now, they also look at the next one, the amount owed. In other words, did you max out your credit cards? And the rule of thumb is never pass 75% of your credit capacity. I don't believe you should pass, 25% or 50%. That's why you get a secured credit card at $500, $400 credit history, and then you use $25, $40 a month, pay it off. And that will keep that part of the score high. Make sense? Yeah. And as I said, what I've seen people within a year, their score is good. It's good. Now, the length of the credit history is also important, but not as important as people make it out to be. Certainly, you want to show a long history of making your payments on time, automatically, via your checking account. Set it up so automatic. And you'll hear people say, "Oh, you've had a credit card for 20 years, and it's you don't use it anymore because it was 100% interest rate, and they were big jerks, but you still keep it open." You can get rid of it. It'll ding your credit score a few points, but then as long as you keep making your payments on time, don't max out, so to speak. Don't use more than 75% of your credit. Your credit score will come back up. The amount of new credit. Have you opened up too many? How many is too many? They don't tell you. 3 or 4 within a short period of time. That's a bad sign. And again, you don't normally want to do this. The types of credit have a small effect. They love mortgages. If you own a home, they consider you more stable. It used to be that you could put an authorized user on your account, and that would help them build their credit score, but that's not done anymore. So they have to have their name on the account, which is why they'll open up a secured credit card. So you understand this? Now, in the face-to-face class, we would take a look at some good credit reports and higher scores and low, not so good credit reports. And the first time you see a credit report, you kind of scratch your head and okay, I see what's going on. They're keeping track of my payment history. My 30 days, 90 days, 120 days late, 60 days late. Have I had any charge-offs? What is that? We'll discuss that. That means they've given up. Did I have any bankruptcies? You understand? They're building a demographic profile, a financial profile on you, and they want to know everything about you. And that's how it works, because they never even see you anymore. It's all done online. They can't look you in the eye and tell if you're a good person or not. They just look at your credit score. Slide 38. The Fair Credit Reporting Act was designed to make sure that your credit report is accurate. If you are denied credit, you can get a free credit report in addition to the free annual copy. So it used to be that they didn't give a free annual copy. You had to pay for it. So what I would do is I would ask for this company to give me a $700,000 credit card, and they'd say, "But we can't do that." I said, "Are you denying me credit?" And they'd say, "Yeah, I guess so." "Great, thank you very much." And then I'd call the super bureau and say, "They denied me credit, give me my free credit report." Because the idea of paying $8 to these people just drove me up a wall. There's no way I'm paying them for information about me. But now you get it free once a year, so don't worry about that. I know I'm crazy, but that's me. Inaccurate information must be corrected within 30 days, and their computers are very sophisticated, folks. They can usually figure things out pretty well. The law says that only authorized persons should have access to your report. Yeah, it's a good one, folks. Anyone can access your credit report. In fact, this was many years ago. A reporter for Business Week was given an account, and he looked up some of his friends and colleagues, and then he decided he would see if he could go for some big fish. He looked up the Vice President of the United States, and bingo, the information just came right out of the machine. And of course he publicized that, and so now there are more controls, but no, any regular working grunt like you and me, they can get our information. Now this is two pieces of of data that I want you to remember, and we're going to review it. How long can adverse data be reported on your credit report? 7 years. Don't let anybody tell you differently, folks. You miss a payment, or you have a charge-off, meaning that they've given up, that you still owe the money, but they've given up trying to go after you, or you get a judgment in a court of law, that's going to be on your credit report for 7 years. Now, after 7 years, it should fall off automatically, and they're very good about having that happen. But if it doesn't, you call them up and tell them, get it off. And they will. Bankruptcies, 10 years. So don't forget these two numbers, right? Don't forget, because if you do, it's bad for my self-esteem. Okay? 7 years. I think it's 7 years bad luck, right? And then 10 years bankruptcy. So, identity theft. Let's take a few moments and talk about identity theft. It's a growing business, folks. You don't have to use a gun or a knife or anything. You don't even have to meet your victim. You can just, protect yourself by shredding old credit slips, account statements, and credit offers you receive in the mail. Get a decent shredder, $30-$50. I spent more because I wanted something really strong. But I find that the new ones are not that good. The older ones were better. They were much stronger. But hey, what can I say? Get a decent shredder. You might, and shred everything, folks. Shred everything. I know. It's a solicitation. I didn't sign it or anything. Shred it. Don't let anybody try to play the game of, I am you. I'm taking over your identity. You may not know your identity has been stolen until you receive a bill with charges that are not yours. Over 23 million thefts in 2013. $7,000 per victim. That's almost $25 billion. So it's a growing industry. And it's hard to get firm numbers. You do a little bit of research and you get numbers all over the map. Some people say it's up to 50 billion. I don't know where they get that, but it's definitely an issue, right? So if you want to do a little bit of sleuthing and see what you can find out, that would be cool. I would be very appreciative if you found better numbers and more recent numbers. Okay, slide number 40. Once you know you've been targeted, contact the fraud departments of each of the 3 major credit bureaus. Actually, you only have to contact one because their computers talk to one another, but I contact all 3. Contact the creditors for any accounts that have been tampered with or opened illegally. And most importantly, file a police report. Why is that important? We'll see on the next slide. Now here is a pretty good website, folks, that I've used in the past, and I still go to it every once in a while to see what's new. It's called identitytheft.org. It's a non-profit, but obviously it's being supported by many of the people who are trying to sell you these credit services that we'll take a look at in a few moments. But it's got some good information. Why should you bother to file a police report? Well, let's take a look at slide 41. What are the sources of identity theft? Well, many people think it's because people are so sophisticated with computers. No, that's one of the lowest things. One of the biggest is inside jobs, right? In a business. Restaurants are supposed to be notorious. Somebody works at a restaurant, they take your credit card, right? And you don't see what they do with it, right? You go in a store, you see they swipe it, they don't write down the numbers. But sure, while they're back there, they could write down the numbers, write down the security code on the back, right, that they need for pulling off a stunt online, and then bring it back to you. And then, of course, they don't do it. They give it to a friend of theirs. Exactly. Just people losing their purses, their checkbooks, their wallets is another large group. And here's look at the families and friends. Yeah, that's why they want you to file a police report. You gave your credit card to Uncle Lucas. He's in trouble again. His car had a baby, or his sister needs a new transmission. No, he needs tires. That's right. His car needs new tires. So you said, okay. And, of course, he went to Vegas with it and charged up $1,500 on a good time. So you don't want to file a police report because even though the jerk belongs in jail, you don't want him to actually wind up in jail. Well, the credit card company is going to say, well, hey, you gave him the card, dummy. It's your problem. So that's why they want you to file the police report. Simple as that. Stolen mail. People taking things right out of your mail. Yeah. Do you have a locking mailbox? And then here's the one that everyone thinks is the biggest problem, but it's actually one of the smaller ones, and that's the phishing expeditions, the targeting where people ask you to give them your bank information and the like. Or, some program that is a virus, infects your computer and sends your data somewhere else. Most of the time they just ask you. People say, oh, okay. Credit protection businesses. Anywhere from $10 to $30 or more per month to protect and ensure your identity. Look, folks, virtually all of the services that they're doing for you, you can do for free. Paying for protection makes you feel as though you're dealing with organized crime, right? Oh, we don't want anything bad to happen to you, so we're going to make sure that you're protected. Just pay us. Well, here are the most important things. Freezing your credit and fraud alerts. And some of these services you can do it as often as you like, and fine, and that's great, because freezing your credit actually costs you money. $10 per credit bureau, and you got to do it 3 times. And then if you want to unfreeze it, you have to pay them again. Now, that's not true in California if you've been targeted. If somebody's been targeted you and has done a fraud, ID theft, then you get to freeze your credit for free. Now, what is freezing your credit? It's basically putting a lock around your credit so that when lenders send their inquiry to Experian or TransUnion or Equifax, it comes back and tells them, hey, this person does not want to open up new lines of credit. You have obviously somebody who's trying to commit fraud on your hands. And if you have enough credit and you've been part of the benevolent machine for quite some time and don't foresee any purchases in the near future, this might be something for you. Something that is less drastic is called a fraud alert. Now, it's no charge if you've been targeted, and it's free, I think, for 90 days. But if you want something longer, then you have to pay if you haven't been targeted. So that is not as drastic as the freezing your credit. It simply says, hey, Mr. Lender, Ms. Lender, this person has told us, meaning the credit bureaus, that they believe somebody's trying to hack into their system. Someone's trying to create ID theft, trying to steal their identity. So be diligent. Ask for identification. Make sure you know who you're dealing with. And then there are other innovative protection methods that, some of them, again, they do this for free. They might charge you for it if you're stupid. I mean, uninformed enough to pay for it, but they'll send you a text or an email saying, hey, somebody wants to buy this $800 worth of sushi at this nightclub somewhere. Is this you? And you might send back, no, that wasn't me. Okay, great. We'll stop them right in the bud. So they analyze your transaction data and see you've never been to a sushi place in your life. And now someone's trying to throw a huge ball at a sushi restaurant. Consumer Reports, they're not perfect, folks, but I really do like them, especially when we get to cars. They take a dim view of these fee-based services, so you can check out their magazine article online there. It hasn't been updated. The last one was 2013, so I don't think that much has changed since then. Slide number 43. What are the creditors looking for? Well, it's called the 5 C's. Character, capacity, capital, collateral, and conditions. Well, the first 4 are the only ones you have control over. The 5th one you really don't have any control over. But again, the first one, look, do you pay your bills on time? That's what they're interested in. They want to know that you are a loyal robot, a loyal droogie. in the benevolent machine, and they want to know that you pay your bills. Can you repay the loan? Then that's why they ask you. They create their own little cash flow statement and their own net worth statement. So they ask for your assets and your net worth and your income and the like and your expenses. And then collateral. This is do you have a value that the lender can take away if you do not repay? Home loans, car loans, to some extent furniture, but they don't want the furniture back, certainly. So we would, in the face-to-face class, we would ask who gets credit, who doesn't. Well, it turns out that we go through phases. During the bubble, the housing bubble of the 2000s, if you were a warm body, that was a good sign. They would extend credit to virtually anyone. And it obviously ended very badly. And then after the turmoil, they became far too, in my humble opinion, strict in their requirements. So I wish they could find the golden mean, but it's not easy, is it? They vacillate between greed and we want to sign up as many suckers, as many clients as possible, and then fear. Oh my God, we'll lose more money if we sign up new people. So it's a problem. Slide 44. What happens if you're denied credit? Well, ask them why, and check your credit report file, because remember, if you're denied credit, it is free. Apply to another creditor with different standards, and take steps to improve your credit worthiness. If there was a situation which was out of your control, such as an extended illness, you are able to write a 100-word explanation. Now, it's not a magic potion or a silver bullet, as they say. It just says, look, during these 3 months when I missed those payments, I was in bed. I had mononucleosis, and my doctor told me I had to stay in bed for 2 months. Or I sprained my Achilles heel and I couldn't get up and go to work. And you see, I missed those months, but look, since then I've been making my payments on time. And that's when a human is supposed to take a look at it and say, yeah, okay. That's when human judgment is supposed to get into the act. But it doesn't always happen, as we'll see. Slide 45. The majority of credit applications are now done electronically. But if your FICO score is around 600 or so, the application is supposed to be reviewed by a human. But often this doesn't happen because humans, they want health care and they want to be paid and they want food and clothing and shelter. Computers are cheap. So what happens is they often just reject you automatically. Or they send you to their subprime department, which means you're a bad credit risk, and sure, we'll loan to you at twice the rate or 4 times the rate. And the sad truth is, if your one account is in default, it can knock you into the mid 500s. So the moral of the story is, get your credit files report before you apply for credit. Make sure everything is correct. If there is a time when things weren't so great, maybe you want to wait, get a secured credit card, build the credit history back up again, and get the credit score up. And certainly, if there's anything that's not correct, you want to get it off their files. Okay, slide number 46. Please don't fall for these, we'll repair your credit 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Folks, these for-profit entities are dubious at best, and in some cases just downright fraudulent. Anything legitimate that these people can do for you, you can do for yourself for free. Again, check out idtheft.org. Check out some of the counseling companies that we'll take a look at services in a few slides. If they ask you to do anything illegitimate, obviously it's not going to work. And if it does work, it's illegal. It's called fraud, using somebody else's credit, social security number or the like. Yeah, so don't fall for these places. The for-profit entities that guarantee they're going to repair your credit, I'm sure there's one or two that is actually well-meaning, but almost to an entity, they are fraudulent. They're just selling you nothing. Okay? So right now in the face-to-face, we would take a look at some credit card applications, but there's a presentation and a commentary that you can do that on your own here online. So check those out. And of course, if you have any questions, you contact me. Some of them are quite tricky, folks. But then some of them they're very lucrative. Once you've been being a part of the benevolent machine, they'll start giving you pretty darn good deals. I've taken advantage of a few. The one that I put online was a situation where they offered a $500 credit if you spent $4,500 within, I think, 3 months. And this is very typical. That's a really good deal. Now, why would they do that? Because they assume that you're not going to pay the $4,500 off quickly, right? They assume that you're going to take months or years to pay it off, so they're going to get that $500 back and more. Right, so you see what you're playing with? You got to be careful with these people. They are not stupid. They may be evil, but they would not like that if I characterize them as evil, but I consider that, getting people in serious debt, I think it's evil. But they're not stupid. They're very, very smart. Okay, slide number 47. So now this is checking for comprehension. Of course, in the face-to-face class, we have our ABCDs. How long can adverse data, late payments, charge-offs, judgments be reported on your credit report? How many years? 7 years. Don't forget that. And then how long will a bankruptcy reported? 3, 5, 7, 6, 10 years. Don't forget these two numbers. It makes me sad when people get these answers wrong on the test. You're going to be the expert for your family and friends. You can't let them down. You have to know these things. Slide number 49. The Fair Credit Billing Act requires that they correct mistakes responsibly. You notify them. You don't even have to do it in writing. You call them up now or go online. They have 30 days to respond. They have 90 days to resolve the problem and tell you why they think the bill is correct. It is not supposed to affect your credit rating while it's in dispute. And some people have told me this actually works. You can withhold payment on shoddy goods if you have paid for them with a credit card. I find people who like to buy things online, they say, well, it wasn't the thing they told me it was supposed to be. So I told my credit card company and they worked it out. Okay, great. That's great. But now, this notifying them of errors, I've had a couple people, I've never done this, folks. I don't recommend it. It is unethical. It might be illegal. I don't think it's illegal because you're not under oath, but they've gotten rid of late payments on their credit report by calling up and saying that I made those payments on time, 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And I guess they just didn't want to be bothered with going back. I'm not saying you should do it. In fact, I'm telling you shouldn't do it. It's unethical. It's wrong. But that's what people have told me they've done. So I'm just reporting. Knowledge about syphilis is not an instruction to go get syphilis. So don't do it and don't play that game. Slide number 50. 7 years. Okay, that's how long it'll take for judgments to be removed, late payments, charge-offs, and 10 years bankruptcies. Right, you got to hit them, folks. First year I was teaching, the very first time I was teaching a class, I had taught before as a tutor, but I've never taught a class. And the vice president of academic affairs, Saxon Raith, who passed away many years ago, told me, "You are a natural, Payano. You tell them 3 times." That's what we learned in the military. When you're training people in the military, you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. And I said, "Oh, okay. I just like repetition. I just so that's why I told you 3 times. So you'll remember that one. Because now we're going to deal with something else here. Complaints. How do we complain about consumer credit? Well, try to solve the problem directly with the creditor. There are more formal complaint procedures and a variety of consumer credit protection laws in federal agencies. The first one to go to is ftc.gov. And I got to tell you, folks, the number of complaints is actually minuscule compared to the billions of transactions that take place. So the system works. It doesn't always work for everybody because there are people who get sucked down into the hole, but it seems to work pretty darn well. So we have to be, fair. We're paying for it. And slide 53, equal credit opportunity. Well, you know what this one's supposed to do, right? Some of us are more equal than others. Don't give up, never give up, because someone out there wants to lend to you. Somebody, they don't care about the color of your skin or whatever. They're more worried about the color of your money. Green, that's what they like. And after you've established yourself as a good credit risk, the others will come a-calling, and then you can tell them to kiss off. I know somebody who went to 26 different banks. Credit unions, I'm not sure if she went to credit unions. She just said she went to 26 different banks to get a loan. And the 27th one did it. Would you have that kind of persistence? Because she wanted that house. She wanted that mortgage, and she got it. And God bless her. Slide number 54, managing your debts. Well, okay. Things are a little bit problematic this month. So what should you do? Call them up. Tell them what's going on. That's the first thing to do. They say, okay, we'll put this on your note. We'll note this down that you contacted us and you're going to miss this payment, or you're going to make a smaller payment. But what they want to work, they don't want you to disappear, folks. The debt collection practices require that if a debt collector calls you within 5 days, they must send you a written notice. And you can dispute the debt. I mean, assuming it's a real debt. If it's not a real debt, obviously you dispute it. And then they have 30 days to verify the debt. Now, here's the kicker. Send the collector a letter. You can do it registered if you want, but you don't have to, but keep a copy, stating that all further contact should be via the U.S. Postal Service. Because then they must do everything by written correspondence by the mail. Which means, slide 55, they cannot be abusive or threaten you. Some of them will say you can go to jail. No, we don't have debtors' prisons, folks. Not anymore. They cannot call you at work. If you've told them, don't contact me except through mail. They can't tell your boss, your friends, your family. They cannot call you at odd hours, very early in the morning, late at night. They must follow set procedures. If they don't, you have legitimate methods to seek a redress from them. In other words, you can sue them. The act, interestingly, does not apply to creditors that try and collect the debt themselves, only for debt collection agencies, which lends you to believe that these are the people who are the most egregious, who do the most dirty tricks, the debt collectors. Oh, why? Well, they bought your debt. You owed $3,000 to some credit card company, and they don't know what to do with it because you're not paying. So they'll sell it to somebody for $300 or maybe $30. And now that individual is going to go after you for the whole $3,000. And all they got to do is get a few $100 from you, and they're happy. So they're going to hound you. You have to be ready. Slide 56. How can you be ready? Well, now I told you the 7 and the 10 years. I do not want you to be confused about this one, because this is 4 years. Every state has a statute of limitations of how long a person can be sued for debt. In California, that is 4 years. Every state's different, so there's a website at the bottom that you can check your state. The debt is not erased, dear students. They just can't take you to court anymore. It's called time barred. If they come after you, because they will, they're not stupid, they know the game. They're going to come after you hoping you don't know this. And then you have to tell the court, sorry, Ms. Judge, Mr. Judge, the statute of limitations has passed. The debt has become time barred. Now, here's where it gets really strange, and I don't pretend to understand this. I just report it. If you pay any part of the debt, no matter how small, or you acknowledge that the debt is yours, then the statute of limitations clock can start all over again. Pretty bizarre, huh? Talk to a lawyer, ask them why it works this way. I don't know. So you have to be diligent. If you plan on paying the debt back, well then, talk to them, work something out. Often they will accept half or something along those lines. We'll make you a deal. But if you believe that these people were schnooks and jerks from the get-go and you ain't going to pay a dime, you make sure you understand that after 4 years, they can no longer come after you in a court of law to get that money, assuming you don't pay any part of it or acknowledge that the debt is yours. Got it? Look it up. If you don't believe me, or if there's other questions, because this is the extent of my knowledge. If you have any other questions, you probably have to go talk to a lawyer. Slide 57. We have problems, and who can we turn to? Well, don't turn to the for-profit credit places that guarantee they're going to erase all your problems. No. You go to the non-profit credit counseling services, such as the National Foundation for Consumer Credit Counseling Service, the American Debt Counseling. They're non-profit. Well, they often charge a fee. It's nominal. Where are they getting their money from? The credit card companies. What? Why would they? We think about it. They don't want you to disappear. They don't want you to go through bankruptcy. They want to get paid. So they're going to help you get back on your feet. And what do these companies do? What do these entities do? They do pretty much the same things we do in BUS121. They're going to set up a cash flow statement, a net worth statement, identify where you are, where you want to be, help you set goals, teach you the basics of personal finance. So, hey, we're in the same business. And so if you are having problems, and some people have serious problems, folks, along the lines of, narcotics and alcohol addiction, and you'll see that in the credit card house of horrors online. And so some of these people need serious counseling. Slide 58. What are some of the warning signs? Well, oh my goodness, I'm only paying the minimum balance on all these credit cards, and the total balance is increasing. And every once in a while I'm missing a payment or I'm making payments late and I'm getting second and third notices and I'm borrowing money to pay debt and I don't know how much I owe and I'm going over the credit limit and I'm not talking to my partner about money, or all we're talking about is money. What's the most important financial decision you're going to make in your life? Okay, so maybe slide 58, we need to talk about bankruptcy. Bankruptcy was designed as a last resort, but for some people it has become an acceptable tool of credit management. In fact, one of our ex-presidents has did it twice, and some candidates for president have also engaged in this. And I'm not trying to say they're bad people because of that. It's just that there are people who abuse the bankruptcy laws. And there's a joke at the bottom of the page. Bankruptcy is a legal proceeding in which you put your money in your pants pockets and you give your coat to your creditors. See, it's a joke. You don't do it, folks. Don't hide assets and then try to go through bankruptcy, because if you get caught, oh boy, the judge is not going to be pleased. All right, you've attempted to commit fraud, so you need to be honest, and you need a lawyer, folks. What happened is a lot of people were abusing these laws, and so the industry, the credit card industry, along with bankers, pushed through this legislation. They basically wrote the legislation in 2005. To make it harder to declare bankruptcy, and there was a resulting backlash that then led to recent consumer-friendly changes. So it's a pendulum that swings back and forth. But on slide number 60, we see that there are two types of bankruptcies for most individuals. Either Chapter 13, which is a reorganization. I need to get back on my feet. Give me breathing room. And a trustee, and we'll talk about trust at the end of the semester, a trustee takes over your finances and stands between you and your creditors. This is what the industry wants you to use. They want you to use Chapter 13 because that means you're not going to have this fresh start. You're not going to have your debts discharged. Chapter 7 is the one they don't want you to go through. They they want you, in fact, the previous legislation tried to make it so you had to go through Chapter 13 to get to Chapter 7. But this was a fresh start. You normally can keep some of your property, but you wind up having many of your debts discharged. But the person may still wind up being hounded by debt collectors anyway. Keep your documentation, because that debt was discharged 3 years ago, 5 years ago, Mr. Debt Collector. And they'll say, oh, no, it wasn't, because they'll lie to you. They're allowed to lie. I don't know why, but they're not under oath. And you can just say, and if they keep coming after you, then you can sue them. But again, that involves lawyers, and that's expensive. So they know that they're pretty much not going to get in a lot of trouble, but they'll still do it. And you want to just go at them. I don't know. I've never had the problem, but I do know people who have. So slide 61. After bankruptcy, normally you will no longer owe retail storage charge, bank credit card charges, unsecured loans, the loans we've been talking about, lines of credit and the like, but not against your home. All right. Unpaid hospital or physician bills. The hospitals wanted to get in on the act in 2005, but they didn't. After bankruptcy, you will still owe. It says, books is trying to be may still owe. No, you will. Taxes, fines, child support, alimony, college loans, they are not going to go away. And any debts arising from illegal activity, such as a DUI, forget it. What the DUI cost these days? $10,000, $15,000. I'm declaring bankruptcy. No, you ain't. And this is a national issue now about college loans. Some people are coming out of college with $80,000, $120,000. That's one of our selling points at Southwestern. I go to the high schools and say, let's talk about Southwestern. It's a great school. It's a great school. And you know what? You won't come out of there with $80,000 worth of student loan debt. They kind of listen to you. So this is how bankruptcy works. They discharge many of those credit card bills and other unsecured loans. So that's why the credit card agencies, the credit card companies, fund the counseling services, because they know if you go through bankruptcy, they lose. Right? They don't want the patient to die. They don't want the host to die. They want you to stay alive and going through bankruptcy. And it's so bizarre because I've known people after bankruptcy, after a few years, they're back up in debt with credit cards all over again. Who gave them credit cards? Slide number 62. Should you consult a lawyer? What do you think? Well, only if you believe it's okay not to consult a doctor and instead decide to take out your appendix by yourself. Oh, I watched it on TV. It didn't look to... Yeah, find a good lawyer, get a good referral, and expect to pay. The book says $500 more. No, it's like $1,500. You're going to spend a lot of money for the lawyer. Don't try to do it yourself. There are books and software programs. Don't do it, folks. If you screw up, I don't even want to think about it. Just like if you screw up taking out your appendix, I don't even want to think about it. Slide number 63. We're almost done. On your 10th wedding anniversary, you splurge. Honey, we're going to Hawaii. $5,000 second honeymoon, which you charge to your credit card. With an interest rate of 15.9%, how long will it take you to pay back the debt if you make only the 2.2% minimum payment each month? 13 years, 19 years, 28 years, or no, they're going to pay it out of your estate when you die. People are often very amazed when they find that it's 28 years, and people have said, what are you talking about? That can't be true. I show them. We create a spreadsheet, an amortization table that shows it's taken 20 some odd years to pay that off. If you only pay the minimum payment, which is what they want you to do. Pay the minimum payment. The jerks. And how much finance will you pay? Almost $3,000, almost $5,000, a little over $7,000 or $15,000. It's an extra $7,000 on top of the $5,000. So that honeymoon winds up costing you $20,000. Yeah, that's why you've taken Business 121, isn't it? Not to just make the minimum payments. Well, the new law requires the credit card companies to show you how long it will take you if you just took the minimum payment. Paid the minimum payment. How much you will spend. You see, they got this idea from from restaurants where people would, once they saw they required restroom in some areas, and now it should, I think it's a great idea personally. I certainly can help. It helped me. They're required to show you how many calories is in each meal. Because when you go out, you want butter, you want good stuff, and you want steak, and so they show you now how much. I remember P.F. Chang's. They have this great wall of chocolate. It's 2,000 calories. And I asked the guy, I said, "Is this really TKT?" Yeah, I said, because they allow them to eat there, and when he's a young guy, but he was eating 2 or 3 a week, and his manager said, "Would you look at how many calories are in these things?" And he goes, "Oh, okay." Himself, and we shared it between 8 people. And so that idea has been transferred, my apologies, has been transferred over to the credit card companies. And so now, take a look at this one. On slide number 65, you see if this person made the minimum payment on a $5,800 balance, it would wind up taking 21 years. 21 years. And they wind up, paying almost a little over $11,000 in the payment and the interest. Whereas if they simply made a payment of $195, it would only take them 3 years. And you see, they got to talk to the credit counselors for our services. Right. So the hope is that people who have not taken Business 121, by the way, will be motivated to pay off their balance quicker. And you already knew all this because you've taken Business 121. Nod your heads. Yes, thank you very much. So what is, dear students, the bottom line on credit? You know what I'm going to say. Make love, not loans. It works, folks. It works. Remember, mantras, they work. Now, we started the first presentation of Chapter 5 with a very crude quote. But I want to end with one that is not crude. In fact, it's over 200 years old here. And it was given by one of our founding fathers, John Adams, in a letter to Thomas Jefferson. So it's nothing new. This is nothing new. The dangers of credit have been around for a long time. And here's what he says. All the perplexities, confusion, and distress in America arise not from the defects of the Constitution, not from want of honor or virtue, so much as from downright ignorance of the nature of coin, credit, and circulation. Yeah, nothing new, folks. Technology has made it easier for people to get in a whole lot more trouble quicker, but it's the same story. In our next presentation, Chapter 5, we will discuss consumerism. Yeah, and some ideas that may change your life. And thus we'll also take a look at cars, a very important expense on our cash flow statement. See ya!